Bedrosian throws to Sandberg, and the pitch is grounded to second base. Thompson has it, throws to first. It's over. 27 years of waiting have come to an end. The Giants have won the pennant.
All right, Brad, we are back on Thompson to Clark. See, this is why I like the podcast, maybe even a little bit more than the live stream, because like for some reason my camera always takes a few seconds to catch up when we start these shows. So I look a little bit like Max Headroom, like what a reference.
Yeah, I think 3 people might have gotten that reference. Max Headroom. That was some good TV, huh?
Yeah, gosh, Max Headroom. I don't know how I even thought about that. Okay, so Giants have an interesting week. They go 4-3. I feel like they should have been 6-1. The only game that I thought that they really should have lost is the maybe the Alcantara game, because he kind of shut him down a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, he was dominating. He's been dominating everybody this season. So, he's a pretty tough pitcher. I think a lot of people actually picked him preseason rankings. They had him Cy Young candidate. So, I mean, we went up against a buzzsaw. Yeah. There were so many games we should have won and so many games we should have lost. So we could have also ended up 4-3 in the alternate universe. Who knows? I mean, it was just a weird week. Anytime you go to the East Coast, I think we talked about that last season too. That trip always scares me. Mm-hmm. You go to Philly, Miami, Cincinnati, New York, just all that stuff out there. Anytime you go on those wild East Coast trips that are like 10 games, I mean, they came back 5-5. But anytime you go on that, anything can happen. It gets weird. I'll throw Washington in there also, because I just all of those, they always scare me. And it's comforting to be back home, especially when you got the Rockies.
Yeah, I mean, they go. So for last week, if we start on Monday, that's kind of how we start our week. They went 4-3, so successful road trip. But like I said, should have been 6-1. Both teams under 500. So you kind of think, you're like, oh, let's take advantage of this. And they were unable to. The bullpen breaks down on them in a couple of those games. And you know what I like about Cap is Tyler Rogers had the worst game on Saturday. Like how frustrating is it to be him and be in that moment? Clutch part of the game. He balks the runner to third, and then a little pop up, it was a decent fly ball, wins the game. Because that's his job. I'm sure that's what he prides himself in, is being able to come in those situations and be a good pitcher, right? Like to be able to dominate those situations. And, we've looked at his stats. I think it was last week when you talked about some of the numbers and how if you look deeper, he's kind of the same pitcher, just with worse luck and probably worse defense, which is I'm starting to come around to this worse defense thing. Because last year,
I've got numbers to back it up later when we start talking about National League West stuff. Yeah, I've got some ugly numbers. Don't say good, because they're bad.
No. Good that you're following up on this, because I think it's worth a conversation.
Yeah.
Because part of it is the way the style that they play. They have a ton of guys who can play multiple positions. So you're never really going to get your ultimate defensive lineup, because they're always maximizing towards the offense. And that's just baseball today. Yeah. And in doing that, you're left sometimes with guys who may be a little cold coming into a spot. Like there was a great play by Vossler. He makes this nice diving stop, and he gets up and just airmails it over the first base. And if he had more reps at that play, then he probably makes that play. It's just a great play overall. But it's just stuff like that. Yeah. And so, we're going to see that. And I do wonder how they will figure that out, where, sometimes they run out of players by the 7th or 8th inning. And when you do that, you are not maximizing defense at all. So that comes into play. All right. So what are we going to talk about today? We're going to talk a little bit about the 4-3 week, like we started. We'll talk about maybe the unsung hero of the team so far, Jakob Junis. I have a comparison to make with him and a former Giant that I think people will understand and like. And then we're going to talk about the series of the Rockies and the Dodgers coming into town. We're going to look at the team stats for all three teams and kind of see, where they are. I was surprised to see that the Giants are only 5.5 games behind the Dodgers because it feels like 10 and it's not 10, so the Dodgers have this crazy, world. Like I was talking to a friend who's a Dodgers fan, and of course he doesn't want to overplay the hand, right? He knows that the team is good, but I was telling him, like, I'm not sure I've ever seen a lineup like this in my entire life. And he's like, well, what about the late 90s Yankees? And I'm like, great lineup, but still, like, the amount of ball players that you guys have is tremendous. And he's trying to, it's like, we'll see. But
did he just try to compare that somebody from the current Dodger team is Charlie Hayes?
I thought you were going to say
Scott Brocious.
I thought you were going to say, is he trying to say that they're not taking steroids like some of those Yankees teams were, like A-Rod.
Scott Brocious?
Yeah. But I do think, like, if you're a Dodgers fan, there's a little pressure on the Dodgers to be the team that it seems like they should be, right? Like they should be an all-time team, and anything less than like a World Series victory, I think, is pretty much a disappointment. So that pressure kind of sucks. And I've been there with the Warriors. The Warriors have had that kind of pressure. And so it's like you either win or you suck, and everyone makes fun of you. And that's kind of where the Dodgers are. By the way, for those who listen to the feed, our BSPN feed, Brian and I did not do a show last night. We took the night off. He had some friends over, so we decided to take. And of course, they win after the one game we recorded. They lost, so we'll be back on Wednesday night after Wednesday night's game.
We had a programming snafu here in Reno, Channel 8, Colo TV. I'm going to call them out. They were having some signal issues. They're our ABC affiliate. So last night I go and make a Smith's grocery run. I come back. I'm turning the game on. I turn it on to Channel 8, ABC channel, black, nothing. Ooh. And I go, ooh, this is a bad time. I mean, we're not the highest market in the world, so we're known to have some programming issues from time to time. So I thought this is a bad time to lose your transponder, lose whatever's happening. Apparently it was only happening on satellite. So it was their satellite transponder not picking up, so Dish and DirecTV. But luckily, I was able to punch up the Apple TV, throw on the ESPN app, log in with my DirecTV credentials, and watch the game. I got that. This is the time of year, bandwagon fan, that I watch Warriors basketball. I have a good time with it.
It is nice though, because of the different apps that we all pay for.
Yeah.
Where if something happens like that, you're like, oh yeah, like now I have. Now I have a backup to what the problem could be. If it's my DirecTV, we have this app and it runs through different thing. And so it's nice to have those options, because back in the day, we're just like banging the side of the TV going like, come on.
Yeah. Run into the neighbor's house. What's the score?
All right. So where should we start? I guess let's just start quickly. We talked a little bit about it, but let's just go over some of the week. So we recorded on Monday. And Tuesday. We recorded on Tuesday.
We had a holiday.
And the Giants were playing the Phillies. And as we like to puff our chests about, every time we record and the Giants are playing, they win. So they won. They won 7-4. It was a crazy extra inning game with home runs galore and Jock Peterson. And is that where did B-Craw hit a grand slam, or was it the next day? We had like 2 grand slams this week. It was crazy.
Yeah, I think that was the next day. I got to look at the box on Tuesday. Let's see. Box on Tuesday. No, that was the day Crawford was sick. He was under the weather, pinch hit late in the game, but yeah, he was not feeling good.
So then, they let one get away in going for the sweep. And then they go to the Marlins. And this is the Alcantara game. He pitched very well. They didn't score. And then they come back on Friday, and it's like they saved up all the runs from Thursday and Friday and just scored them all on Friday.
Yeah.
They won 15-6, and they were just bashing the ball all around. Marlins scored a few runs here late in the game. And so it sets up the weekend, and I'm like, okay, this team is back. And then Saturday happens, and I'm just so frustrated. Like, it's funny because we as smart fans, and we know that 162 games, this was a long season, one game here and there. We're going to win a few games where the other team gives it to us, and we're going to lose a few games where we give it up. And so you're like, oh, it'll even out. I don't know why I was so mad on Saturday. And I think it's because of Tyler Rogers, because I was saying how I kind of wonder if the jig is up a little bit with him because of how sensitive his style is, where it's a lot of it is deception and this rising ball and the way that he pitches. And I kind of wonder, like, because of luck or whatever you want to say, it almost feels like what happened last year, where he was not giving up any runs. It's just kind of like flipped around, and the luck is just against us. And I wonder how long that continues, because that was so sad to watch. I felt so bad for him, but so angry at the same time.
Yeah, and I think, like we talked about last week, I really do think the defense plays so much into that. Because Tyler Rogers is a pitch to contact guy. I mean, that's just who he's always been, and the way he pitches in all of his weird angles and the rise ball and his slider that just kind of dips out of the zone. When you make contact, you're going to hit it in weird ways. And then when you've got a defense that's not that great, with the ball coming off the bat and at a weird angle that you're not used to, and you're playing out of position, or not out of position, but you're playing in a position that you don't normally play, then stuff's just going to happen. So they're not going to get to baseballs that other players would get to. I mean, would Brandon Belt help in this situation? Would Tommy LaStella help in this situation? I don't know. I mean, last year was Solano a huge upgrade at second base. I mean, Tyro Estrada's having a great season at second base. At third base, you've got Walton right now. You've got Evan Longoria. Longoria can make some plays. Brandon Crawford, a little bit under the weather, still playing awesome defense. I mean, in that, he made a great play in that 15-6 ball game. The Giants had to make two really good plays when Walton was on the mound, just to end that ball game. So yeah, I think defense is really kind of killing Tyler Rogers right now. And we looked at his numbers last week, and they're not far off from last week. Mm-hmm. I know you're ready to just hang the guy out and stick him in the dugout for a few games and tell Cap, hey man, just let's not do this gimmick for a couple of games and see what happens.
So I want to remind you that last year when he would come in, we were a little like, I'm not so sure about this. But the proof was he got outs, and he pitched very well. I mean, he could have made the All-Star game last year if they looked at, kind of seventh inning relievers, but that's how good he was. And so to see the opposite happen, and here's the other thing. You know what I think it is? He's not a bravado guy, right? He doesn't puff his chest out. He's not Romo, like so fired up. It almost looks like he's apologizing every time he gives up a hit. And so it's hard for me to like watch that and go like, like I want to see him way more confident and like, I got this. Even
he's
though
got
I
like
just
Gumby shoulders, right? It's just always
even though I just gave up this hit, like I'm getting the next guy. You don't feel that from him. That's just not his personality. It kind of is his brother's personality, though. If you watch his brother pitch, he's like way more like that. But I guess that's the difference between throwing 95 and 82. But that's also it is like when you watch him, you're like, does he like how confident is he in this moment? Because when he balked and you saw the look on his face, it was kind of like what people used to get mad at Brandon Belt about, right? Like the slumpy shoulders, like that kind of thing. And so I get it. I understand why he frustrates me, and this is just my own personal thing.
Yeah, no, I totally understand that. I love the guy because you know how it is with baseball. I've always gravitated towards the weird when it comes to baseball because I love that. That's what baseball is. Like football is like, oh, get out there
Yeah.
and smash. If you have somebody who's weird in football, everybody wants to hurt him. Everybody wants to take him out. If you have it weird in baseball, it's like, no, okay, I get it. I mean, it's baseball. It's supposed to be weird. So when you have the goofballs like that, I love him, but he does drive you crazy, especially when he's got a full count and he drills. I think it was not Jesus Sanchez, but drills the dude in the shin to load the bases, and you're like, well, he just got to throw it in the zone. And he's probably not going to do anything with it, but so. I don't know. I see a really good second half of the season for him. That's an easy prediction, right? I mean, that was lame. Why did I even say that? He's going to have a better I mean, yeah, he's going to have a better second because his first half has been garbage. Not to his fault. So,
Yeah.
All right. You could just put a label on me that says the Tyler Rogers biggest apologist.
Well, it's also, he needs some people in his corner because he had a couple of bad starts. Okay. So then we got to Sunday, which was yesterday. And they came back and pretty much dominated the ball game. I'm going to look at the box here for a second. And so, we're going to talk about this guy here, but at least the guy who I'm calling the unsung hero. But we'll talk about another guy who hit his first home run in a Giants uni, Donovan Walton. And it was actually a grand slam, so it was good to see him. I kind of was wondering about him, like how long is he going to stay on this roster? Are they going to do any sort of dance with him? Does he have options left, or is he with us to stay?
That's a good question. I'm not exactly sure when they got him. Usually they'll announce that, but I don't remember that one. And generally when a player like that is DFA and the Giants trade from, although they did trade Prelander Baroa for him.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a chance you give up somebody like Baroa, there's a chance that there are options left.
He's got one. According to Fangraphs, Fangraphs literally has, these websites are so great.
Oh, I love them.
Under birthday and drafted time is service time and options. Like they know what we're looking for.
Exactly. We're not goofing around here, man. We need to know. Yeah. That's the important stuff. Now, that option, though, is at this year.
Reported
but if it is
pre-2022 season number of waiver options remaining. I mean, I don't even know what that means because Fangraphs is too smart for me. But
it can be. I can go there sometimes, too, and I'll look at, when I talk about defense later, when I was looking at, I don't know what 90% of the defensive stuff means. So it's not going to be like a deep dive into defense. It's going to be just kind of like, I know these two things. But I mean, they're glaring. So, but yeah, I'll go to Fangraphs sometimes too. And I'll kind of tool around there. And I'm like, should I know this stuff or should I not?
If it was our job to do this show, like we spent all week, we probably should, but we know a lot, for just doing a podcast. So,
for sure.
I'll give us
we're
fans,
fans of the game and fans of the Giants. And that's why you're here. That's why you're here listening to us because, you're fans too. And you like the fan take. I love the fan take too, because I'll listen to a lot of podcasts. Like I listened to the, what is it? The Bags and Breeze one. I also listen to
that's a Giants nerdy, but very, conversational podcast. I like it because of the conversation, but you also learn stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And then there's the other one too. That's Cole Kuiper
and Alex Pavlovich.
Yeah, Pavlovich, former CHS, Cupertino High School grad, alumni like myself. But so I'll listen to those, and that's good because those are the insiders. Those are the guys who are asking, Kapler questions after the game. But this one here, this is fan takes this, and fans for what was 30, 40 years now.
Yeah.
God, I'm almost 50.
I know. I just had a birthday. I am officially in the later half of my 40s now.
Yeah, it doesn't get better. The pain lingers longer, I'll tell you that.
So the cool thing about those podcasts, like I said, they know where to get the data, they understand the data, they have great analysis. But they are not fans like we are fans, right? Cole Kuiper grew up with his dad doing Giants broadcasting. So to some extent, I'm sure he's still a fan. But when you do those jobs, you're sort of rooting for stories. You're not rooting for players and teams. So for Bags, for Bags and Brisbee, for their job, I'm sure they're rooting for the Giants to do well, because the further the Giants go, the better the Giants are. More people are going to read their pieces. Mm-hmm. But if it's like bottom of the ninth, 2 outs, runner on third, Brandon Belt's up, Grant Brisbee isn't doing this like us, going like, come on, Belt, come
exactly.
on. Like, he's not doing that. He's like, okay, like what happens, and I have to figure out how to create an angle out of that.
Do I have to rewrite my last paragraph now?
Exactly. So that's what's different about this is you and I, we can just be fans right now. We are also, I come from the journalism world, so I sort of have to just instinctually be unbiased. And you've been a broadcaster before, so you understand how that thing works. So we're going to be fair, but we can also cheer. We can also hope that Belt gets a base hit in that situation and be happy when it's over.
Yeah, and we can also hope that Tyler Rogers has a better second half of the season.
Yes.
See, we can do stuff like that. We can hope. We can say it out loud too.
Yes. All right, so a little bit more about Junis. So he pitched yesterday. I think he threw 6 innings. I think gave up 1 earned run. I think it was a home run, actually. And only 2 hits, 8 strikeouts. So he is sitting very nicely. And I have a question for you, which is, he has 6 games started. He's given up 31 hits in 43 innings, 35 strikeouts, 9 walks, 2.51 ERA, he's 3-1. He is essentially taking DeSclafani's spot. Do you think a healthy DeSclafani, would be as effective as Junis has been so far? It's probably close, but I don't know if DeSclafani, like when we looked at DeSclafani last year, we looked at the first half and the second half. The second half was not great. And we were kind of seeing a little bit more of second half DeSclafani in the beginning of the season, but that could have been because he was injured.
Yeah, we don't know a whole lot about the injury timeline. That's the only thing. Yeah, that's a tough one. I mean, I'm going to say yes, because I don't think the Giants say, here's a 3-year deal. I think here's a 3-year deal, and we know your second half DeSclafani. So I'm thinking it's gonna be close, because Junis did have a couple of rough patches there after he came up. Looked very good out of the pen, a couple of good starts, and then a rough couple goes at it. But then he started relying, I think, more on the slider. And then kind of turned it back around again. Tough question. I'm going to say, I mean, Junis has been pitching lights out, so I'm going to say Junis would give us more.
Yeah, I think I would say that too. Though, we were very happy with first half Disco last year.
For sure.
He pitched, he was going 5-6 strong pretty much every start. But yeah, I think Junis has just been fantastic. And here's who I'm going to compare him to. It is a Giants playoff hero from the pitching side. We needed him in a pinch. We needed him in some crazy games that went like 18 innings. His name is Yusmeiro Petit. That's what this version of Junis reminds me of. Petit did not give up a lot of hits, was able to get outs without expending a lot of energy and throwing a ton of pitches. Sometimes it was pitching to contact. And that's who Junis reminds me of. Now, they're different kinds of pitchers. They're similar in some instances, but Yeah, like we were talking about this, I think, sort of we wanted everybody who was out there in the free agency to be on the Giants this year. We've had so many guys.
Yeah.
But one of them was like, I wonder if Petit could still pitch because of the way the Giants use their bullpen. He could be a sort of a valuable long arm. But they had Junis in mind for that position, and it's worked out so well.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good comparison. Petit, if he was with the Giants this year, he would be a starter probably, because he could give you the 4 innings. I mean, gosh, the way Kapler's been using the starters the last couple of weeks, he's pulling them so early and going right to the bullpen. And I mean, maybe that's some of the bullpen woes too, is that you're kind of taxing the pen.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
Yeah, he's been accused of that in the past in Philadelphia when he came to that. But he really hasn't had a regular, like, start on time, finish on time, full crowd, 162 game season, no 7-inning doubleheader seasons with the Giants yet. So it's hard to see, like, what is he doing exactly with the team or with the pitching staff. But yeah, Petit would yeah, that's a good comparison, because he was one of those guys, man. If the Giants needed that, the 4th inning blew up, Matt Cain had a rough start, he would come in and he could pitch you like 4 innings, get you to the, bridge you to the 9th pretty easily.
All right, so let's talk about our player of the week, because I probably just gave it away just by this segment, but I want it. I want this part of the podcast to be a little bit of a love fest for this guy. So why don't you break down the player of the week, and we could finish off the conversation of Jakob Junis.
Yeah, we had our player of the week, and if this poll right here of these 3 players doesn't sum up the Giants' love for their full 40-man roster, I don't know what does, because we had 3 guys that were in here. So coming in third, Donovan Walton had a really nice week. Batting average wasn't up, but the WOBA was pretty good. He hit 227. The WOBA was 342. He had the home run, the grand
couple
slam.
Of clutch hits with runners on this week.
Yeah, bases clearing double that did not stand up. Again, go out to a 4-0 lead on Saturday, just couldn't hold it. Went out to a 4-0 lead yesterday on Sunday, and I was like, can we hold this one? Is this going to happen? So 1 home run, 8 ribs on the week, 5 runs, 13% K rate. That's really low. Came in third place, 8.7% of the vote. Jason Vossler, 17.4% of the vote, 313 average, 466. Hit 2 jacks on the week, 466 WOBA, 2 home runs, 4 runs, 3 ribs, 333 BABIP, and a 750 slugging percentage. And again, Donovan Walton and Jason Vossler, 2 guys that are filling in, but on the 40-man, who the Giants value very, very much. And Vossler and Walton are both just kind of going to make it very difficult when guys like Brandon Belt and Duggar come back. And
Slater came back.
Wade Jr. Slater's back, but Lamont Wade Jr. is still coming back. I mean, there's a lot of guys that are still going to be coming back. So these guys are going to make it very difficult. But at least they have options this year, so the Giants can send them down. It's not a problem. And then coming in first, Jakob Junis with 73.9% of the vote.
There we go.
10 1/3 innings, 2 starts, 1-0, 1.74 ERA, 5 hits, 11 strikeouts in those 10 1/3 innings. Like I said, very valuable. Such a valuable part of the Giants pitching staff right now. It's scary to think where they would be without him right now. Would they have to force somebody from AAA to come up? I mean, they have Sam Long, they've been able to kind of keep him fresh in AAA, and that's their game plan. Again, the Giants are truly marathoning this season and not sprinting, because everybody said, 107 wins last year. We got to come out of the gates and blow it up. No, you got to blow it up in August and September. That's when you got to really play the best. And so if you're fresh in August and September, hey, things could look good. So with Sam Long being fresh down in AAA, you're not having to tax him up here in the majors. Then when you need him, he's ready to go. So yeah, the Giants are doing a great job with that. So Jakob Junis, your player of the week.
I like it. All right, let's get to what we're drinking. For the video folks, I apologize that my picture. I'm guessing it's one of those things where I probably just have to restart my computer, and there's probably a lot of cache happening in the memory and just slowing it down. So
it's probably one of those things where you need to go to the wife and say, I need a new iMac. I got to get a new iMac.
I think it's coming. You know why it's coming? Part of it, I do so much production on these machines that for both podcast networks that we have, I mean, I'm not going to get the computer for free, but I could technically write it off as a business expense. So that helps a little bit, But yeah, this computer, I think I bought it in 19, and it was about a year and a half before the M1 chips came out. Yeah. So now the M2 chips are already out. This is Apple nerds geek stuff.
Is the M2 out, or is it the M1 Pro? I think it might be the M1.
I think they had the conference today.
Oh, that's right.
And so they talked about the M2 being in the MacBook Airs and the MacBook Pros. So I think it's nice. If it's not out, it's like on its way. So anyway, I bought this computer in I think it's like 18 or 19, and it's a great, fantastic purchase. I'm probably a little bit harder on my Macs than most people because I work from home. So I use it not only as a production machine for producing podcasts, producing video, but it's also my work computer. Like, I do a lot of stuff for work. So I'm just constantly hammering on it. And it's been exceptional. Like, it's funny because Brian is looking for a new one, and he has my previous version iMac, which was probably like a 2016 iMac.
So he's looking for the upgrade.
So he's waiting. He's like, should I buy one? Are you going to get a new computer anytime soon?
There you go.
At some point, maybe this year, maybe early next year. I mean, when you got your iMac, I did get a little bit jealous. I was like, God, it's so fresh and so clean and so brand new.
Yeah, and the nice thing, so I have the M1. I got it last summer. I think it was probably June, I think, is when it ended up finally showing up. And I've kept it really clean because I won't use it for work. The only work stuff I do on it is office.com. Mm-hmm. So I don't like to load any work stuff on it. So I use it for video production, gaming, doing different things. It's a really nice machine. If anybody out there has a PlayStation, it's a really nice machine for doing PlayStation Connect, the remote service. So when the kids are using the TV that's like, I don't know, 20 feet away from me, I can just plug in the old remote there and fire up the PlayStation Connect and hop on and actually use this as a screen. It's not 4K because they don't stream in 4K, but it's pretty good for that.
One of my buddies got the Mac Pro, the big baddie.
Yeah, that thing is crazy.
And that would be like right in my wheelhouse, with the one exception in that you also have to buy a display.
Yeah.
And I'm so spoiled by the iMac display that if I was to buy a display to kind of mirror the iMac display, you're adding like another $1,500, $2,000 on top of the Mac Pro price.
I know.
So I'm just like, that's a great idea, but I think I'm sticking iMac for this.
When I saw that, I got very excited, and then I realized, yes, it did not come with a display, and I was like, ooh. And then you can't just get any display, because if you're going to spend that much for the computer, you're not going to just be like, I'll just throw this display up there. It'll be fine. No, you want 8K. You want everything to go with it. So, yeah.
Yes. All right. Let's talk about quickly what we're drinking. So last week, I had mentioned that I bought the Bullet. This is either last week or the week before. I had the Bullet pre-made cocktails. And the one that I had was the old-fashioned. And the other one that they make is the Manhattan. And I've never had a Manhattan in my life. But I guess one of the main differences is there's a vermouth that they add to a Manhattan. Is that correct?
Yeah, I believe
there's still bitters, but I guess it's the sweet vermouth. So
it's a sweet, which is very sugary. So,
yes. Yeah. So it adds definitely some sugar and some carbs there. But what I did, because I can't deal with the sugary drinks, I just cut it. I just put like 2 or 3 ounces of water on top of it. And so it's much more refreshing, but it is also less sugary. So I'm sure I'm not drinking a Manhattan the way you're supposed to drink a Manhattan.
You drink it any way you want it.
Yeah, but that's what I'm drinking, and I've really, if I was not okay. So for instance, you and I, we like whiskey, we like bourbon, we like rye whiskey, we like Irish whiskey, right? Like there's a taste bud that we have that allows us to drink that other people may not have. Like my wife, if I have like a bourbon, she'll have a sip and she'll go, it'll sort of shock the system a little bit, right?
Yes.
But we're so used to drinking bourbon. So I can drink. I'd rather have whiskey on the rocks or straight rather than have the cocktail. But I had to try the cocktails because I think they're so cool. I just think the idea of having these bullet cocktails is cool. So I had to support the process there.
Yeah, and I hear you. And I've cut way back on sugar and alcohol in general. But we're going to Vegas next week. And, that kind of throws a monkey wrench in everything. So I'm sure I will be poolside. You will see pictures of the poolside with the poolside beers because my dad's going down there too.
Okay.
He's a microbrew drinker. So
there we go.
We will be in the pool having some beers. I went with I forgot and I grabbed the wrong glass. I meant to grab the Great Basin Brewing. I tried to get a local glass and I grabbed the Rams glass.
Yeah, that's for Aaron Donald, man. You guys.
That's for Aaron Donald.
A nice little bump there.
There you go. $95 million over the next 3 years extension. 31 a year, 32 a year.
That's what we got to do though. At our jobs, we got to walk in, and we got to go. Thinking about retirement.
Yeah.
And then they go, no, like we're gonna give you like a bonus, like here's more money, and they're like, okay, we're not gonna retire, relax.
See, I work for the county, so if I did that and I walked in and said I'm thinking of retiring, they'd go, oh, okay, yeah, you've got 8 years. Like, okay, well then I'll retire in 8 years. I'll show you. So I went with the Paloma, and of course I forgot the tequila again, but it is the Terramana with the grapefruit Zevia. I did bring that in there because I can never fill, because what I do is I put the big round ice cube in here, then I put the tequila, and then I pour the grapefruit over it, and it fizzes so much because of the interaction between the two that I can never fill it all the way up. So I always have to bring in the glass with me or bring in the can with me, and I always forget the tequila, but that's good because if I brought it with me, there have been, here's a secret. What do we say? Behind or inside baseball.
Yeah.
Here's a little inside baseball for you. Because there are times I have brought the bottles in with me to show the bottles. And the problem is we start to go a little long. And then I got to pour a little bit more.
Oh, there you go. I thought you were going to say, well, so for instance, for mine, I didn't bring the Manhattan bottle in because you're supposed to keep it in the refrigerator.
Oh,
so if I keep it out, I mean, who knows? Probably it's fine, but I just didn't want to keep it out, and then it's, then it gets a little lukewarm there. Yeah. Okay, so the one thing about your Vegas trip. So as you know, I just got back. Vegas is the super spreader COVID-19 town. So fun. The thing about you that you just said, you guys are going to be at the pool a lot.
Yeah.
I think that's the play. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
I was indoors with folks and I was fine, but I would say at least, so let's say we had a group of about 75 to 100 people. Those that I know that reported back to me, 15 people popped.
Oh gosh.
So there are, I'm sure
but they also flew, right? Most of you flew.
So we all flew.
Okay. So we're driving. So
we had at least one. So we had sort of two big events kind of indoors. So I'm sure that was a problem.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah, Vegas is, COVID does not exist in Las Vegas. So I was the odd person out in that I was wearing my mask a lot.
Yeah.
And nobody else was. There's like two or three of us who are wearing our mask. And luckily, like, we didn't get sick. Now, that's not to say that the people who weren't wearing their mask were irresponsible in any way, but it was just kind of the thing. Like, nobody was wearing their mask. So just be careful. There's a lot of stuff going around out there.
We were gonna pre-purchase tickets for shows, and we are gonna do all this stuff, and then as soon as the numbers started going up, because living in Nevada, we do get numbers from Vegas all the time too. And I saw the numbers here going up and the numbers in Vegas going up. I thought, I don't want to buy any tickets for any shows because I don't know if I want to sit in crowds with a bunch of people from out of town, from everybody's from everywhere. And we drive down there. It takes about, with a couple of stops, it takes about 8 hours to get down there. And you go, and there's nothing. You just drive and there's nothing out there. A couple of gas stations on the way, a couple of towns on the way, and that's pretty much it. And then the place we're staying is not a casino, and it's going to be 106 the entire week. So we'll probably be indoors in the room, and then pretty much at the pool. And I think that's the plan for the week. So
there you go.
Yeah.
All right. So
I'll come home healthy, I promise.
Yeah. Let's talk about a little bit, which is, so before we get to our last segment, which is we're going to kind of look at Dodgers, Giants, and Rockies. Mm-hmm. For those who are listening to the audio version of this show, give us a 5-star review if you can. If you have it in your heart to want to see this podcast grow a little bit, that will definitely help. And also for the YouTube, if you are watching us on YouTube, maybe you're subscribing to our channel. If not, click that subscribe button. It costs you nothing. It just helps us. And if you kind of want to see what it looks like on video, go to the BSPN YouTube channel. You may also need to add Bay Area Sports Podcasting Network in the search just to make sure you find the right one. There's some other BSPNs in there. I don't know exactly what they stand for, but so check us out, subscribe, all that stuff. It just generally just helps us. It's, and it'll help you find our stuff sooner than later. Okay, let's get to the last thing here, which is we wanted to look at the numbers with the Giants, the Dodgers, and the Rockies to kind of see if we can glean anything from what is going on with all of these teams. The Giants have a big homestand up here. Tomorrow is the first game, Giants and Rockies. They play 3. Then the Dodgers come in, and the Dodgers are here for 3. And if you remember, I know Giants fans remember, we lost the only 2 games to the Dodgers so far, and one of those games was not even close. So we owe them big time. Yeah. So wanted to look at some of these numbers to kind of see how close are we to the Dodgers, or maybe how far away are we from the Dodgers, and where do the Rockies kind of fit into this whole thing. As the standings are today, Monday night, the Dodgers are 35-19. They're only 5-5 in their last 10, and they've lost 2 games in a row. The Rockies are in last place in the West. You remember how we were talking about how all the teams are kind of close, they're around 500. Well, Colorado is 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 4 in a row. Arizona is 3-7 in their last 10. They've lost 2 in a row. Both of those teams are now under 500. So that should mean for us that the road gets a little bit easier, but the Dodgers and San Diego, who's 35-21, they are 2 of the better teams in the National League, especially, but also in all of baseball. So let's look at some of the batting statistics here. Now, you think about runs per game, and you think about all of these great teams in baseball. The Yankees are 39-15. They have a 72% winning percentage. That is amazing. Houston Astros, 35-19, right there with the Dodgers. The New York Mets, 37-19. So there are some really, really good teams from a win-loss perspective. Do you know the Giants are second in all of baseball in runs scored behind the Dodgers? The Mets are third, Cardinals fourth, Red Sox fifth, Yankees sixth. What does that mean when the Giants are a whopping 29-15 or whatever we are? 29-24. I'm sorry, 29-24.
Yeah, 29-24. You know what that means is something we talk about every year, and it's the bullpen. If the bullpen can just hold on to some of these games, the Giants are probably right up there behind the Dodgers, maybe by a half a game, one game back, or maybe even tied for first place at this point. Because were a couple games where, um, the bullpen just couldn't hold those 4-run leads, 5-run leads, even, and it's frustrating to watch. But it's going to come around because the Giants pride themselves in their bullpen, pride themselves in pitching, and also defense is a tough pill to swallow right now. But yeah, it's funny because the Giants will play some games and they'll get 7 innings into it and have not scored a run, and all of a sudden in the 8th inning they blow it for 5 runs, and then you go, well, there's their 5 runs per game, because it's not a consistent 5 runs per game. It's not, they're not scoring a run in 5 different innings, so that's why it's kind of hard to fathom. But
it's 10 runs, and then the next game is 2 runs, and then it's 8, and then it's 1, and then they get shut out, and then they score 15. It's like crazy.
Yeah, exactly. And then, that's pretty much what it comes down, because that cuts your average in half the next day. So, but it's always good to look at this too, because then you feel better. And you go, well, this is not, the Giants aren't playing above their heads. They're actually playing below right now. And they are definitely a better team than their record shows.
Okay, so let's look at home runs. Now, the Yankees lead all of baseball with 80 home runs. Brewers have 72, Braves 69, Astros 69, Angels 68. Giants have more home runs than the Dodgers. And if you look at their lineups, you would kind of wonder, how is that even possible? And it's, it's Jock, and it's Wilmer, and it's, every single player on their team, even Joey Bart, who I think he swings and misses at like 9 out of every 10 pitches. Even he has a handful of home runs. So that was also really fascinating to me, is that the Giants are out homering the Dodgers. Were you surprised to see that?
I'm very surprised to see that. I know that Dodgers got off to a little bit of a slow start at the beginning of the season. They weren't pounding the ball. Mookie Betts finally turned it on, but before that, he wasn't doing anything.
He's got 16.
Now he's got
going nuts.
Yeah, so I'm definitely surprised to see that. I'm looking in the National League. Milwaukee's got 72 home runs. Then Atlanta has 69, and then the Giants are in third in the National League with 66. That's pretty amazing.
It's Justin Turner. He's got 4. It's Max Muncy. He's got 3. Max Muncy's hitting a whole 150, by the way. Jeez. And so, they're definitely underperforming. Like, I think Dodger fans would say the same thing, which is what you said, which is they're probably even better than their record shows, and they have a really good record. So they're probably they would probably think that they're underperforming a bit themselves.
Oh yeah.
All right, and so let's look at, what the Giants really pride themselves in, which is on base percentage. Now, the New York Mets lead all of baseball, 335 on base. The Dodgers are second, 333. The Colorado Rockies, 327. Some of that is inflated, just like their batting average, because of where they play their home games. The Giants are fourth in all of baseball at 325. And I don't know if this is a stat. I don't know if it should be a stat. It may be there may be some sort of algorithm that includes this. But if you look at their batting average and then the on base, there's like a giant difference. Like, okay, so the Rockies, for instance, are hitting 261 and they have a 327 on base. The Giants are only hitting 244 and they have a 325 on base. So what does that mean? Well, it means that they're probably walking a lot more than these other teams. And that, again, another piece of what they pride themselves in. And then when you get to the slugging, so in all of baseball, the Dodgers are first, Yankees are second, Red Sox are third. Now, this is where the Giants slide down a little bit, even though they hit more home runs than Dodgers. What this tells me is that they don't hit a lot of other extra base hits. Their slugging is only 410. That puts them at about seventh in all of baseball. And then you add those two things up and you get to OPS. The Giants are fifth in all of baseball in OPS. The Dodgers are first. So that's where they they're sort of lengthening away from the Giants a little bit, is when you put all of that stuff together. And then the Rockies are a couple of spots behind the Giants. So the Rockies are hitting the baseball too. I don't have the home and road splits here, so unfortunately I cannot see what that is. Where the Giants kind of fall back a little bit further is the OPS plus, which is the adjusted to the ballparks, and I'm not exactly sure all of what OPS plus means, but there's some, they're trying to sort of perfect OPS here. The Giants do fall a little bit below. They're outside of the top 10 in OPS plus, and the Dodgers are number 4. And that is, sort of your offense. So to me, that says offensively, the Giants are probably doing better than most people think. And we see all the strikeouts. We see the low batting average, but they walk a lot. They, they have quality ABs, which helps in the scenarios in which, you look at some of the players that they throw out there and you're like, oh my gosh, who are some of these guys that are, that are playing and hitting so low? And also the other thing is that all of these guys who, the Donovan Walton and the Jason Vossler, if you shaved off Donovan Walton's beard, outside of Giants fans, who would even know the difference between the two guys, right?
Yeah.
So it's just sort of like the nameless, faceless guys. So just to finish out that, Dodgers lead all of baseball in walks with 220. Giants are second with 198. So both of these teams offensively are good offensive teams. You could talk me into the Dodgers being very good, but neither team is great. And it just shows that, they're, like you said earlier, Giants are probably playing a little bit under what they are, and the Dodgers fans would probably think the same thing about themselves.
Yeah, I would think so. I tried to look for it because you talked about the disparaging big canyon there between average and on base percentage. And I mean, us Giants fans, we know what that is, and that's the frustration of runners left on base. I mean, how many games are we sitting here going, hey, we got the bases loaded and we got one out.
Yeah.
And we got a run, or we got no runs, or we got runners at second and third and we got 2 outs. All we need is a knock. We could drive in 2 runs, and we don't get that. Again, lucky, unlucky. I mean, those things will start to fall. You know how baseball is. It evens out. So yeah, that is a pretty big chasm. I haven't used the word chasm in a long time, but I thought I would go ahead and use that. Yeah, I definitely think, looking at all of this stuff, I definitely think that the Giants are playing under where they should be right now. I'm looking at barrel percentage too. I always like the fun StatCast stats. The Giants are 5th in the National League in barrel percentage. The Dodgers are 3rd in the league in barrel percentage. The Braves are 1st at 10.7%. That's the highest. And then you look at hard hit percentage, and I think hard hit is, I think we talked about last week, it is determined by anything hit over 95 miles an hour. Of course, the Braves, 41.7% lead the National League in hard hit percentage. Dodgers are 2nd, and the Giants are 6th. So, the Giants are still hitting the ball hard. They're doing their thing, but they're just not getting them to drop in at this point and driving in those runs to get that gap between the batting average and the on-base percentage to close a little bit.
All right, so let's look at some of these pitching metrics here. Now, if you want to look at the old back of the baseball card statistic, the Giants are not doing very well in ERA. The Dodgers are number 2 in all of baseball. The Yankees are 1st. The Rockies are actually below the Giants in ERA by a fair amount. Wow. So the Dodgers have 2.91 ERA, team ERA. The Giants are a 4.3 team ERA. Wow. And the Rockies are 5.25. Now, the difference in what ERA could mean, or not that what it could mean, but what maybe a little, what is ERA not telling us? So we look at the FIP, and what the FIP stands for fielding independent pitching. According to Baseball Reference, this stat measures a pitcher's effectiveness at preventing home runs, walks, hit by pitches, and causing strikeouts. And basically what it is it is what the pitcher can generally control versus what the pitcher can generally not control. So some of these base hits, through the hole that because of positioning, the infielder wasn't able to get, that may affect the ERA. That is not necessarily going to affect the FIP. But, if Logan Webb gives up another jack, like the 3 he gave up the other day, that's going to affect both ERA and fielding independent pitching. So the Giants are 3rd in all of baseball at fielding independent pitching. So what that could mean is that the pitchers are just a little bit unlucky, or the defense is some of the cause of this. And you had mentioned that you had some defensive metrics that may prove this to be true.
Yeah. So let me, again, like we talked about earlier, we're not StatCast experts. There's a lot of, these advanced metrics and everything else that kind of escape me. I look at these things and I always have a little bit of a hard time with them. But when you're looking at fielding percentage in the National League, the Padres are number 1. And you know why they're number 1? Because Fernando Tatis is hurt. Number 1. Because he led the league in errors last year. So that's why the Padres are number 1 in fielding percentage. Dodgers are number 2. Let's go down the list here. Giants are 8th in fielding percentage.
Not terrible.
Not terrible. But when you look at the errors, you run through the errors. Number 1 in the least amount of errors, of course, the Padres. It kind of correlates with all the fielding percentage. Giants only have 26 errors. So that's good for 8th on the list, but that's tied with the Braves. That's only 1 less than the Cardinals and Mets, and only 3 less than the Dodgers, Marlins, and Reds. So it's more a matter of Giants players getting to the ball, I think, more than errors. Because when you look at errors, it's a glove is on the ball, or somebody's standing there and the ball drops right next to him, sun in his eyes, whatever, you can get an error for that. But there are a lot of plays, and we used to talk about this with Omar Vizquel. He would get some errors because he would get to balls that most guys wouldn't get to. Most of the Giants are just not getting to the ball. So those are that's where the FIP comes into play. So balls are falling into play, they're hits, and that kind of goes into the whole FIP.
One great definition of what you're just talking about? I'm trying to figure out who said this. It was either Brenly or Kuiper, and I'm guessing it was Brenly. He said that Robbie Thompson would get to balls on his feet that Ryan Sandberg had to dive for.
Yes.
And that what that also means is there's going to be balls that Thompson could possibly get to and may make errors on. That would be base hits with Ryan Sandberg playing second. And Ryan Sandberg's going to win the Gold Glove because his fielding percentage is higher because he doesn't make as many errors, but he also doesn't have as many chances because he's not getting to as many baseballs. So that kind of explains the whole thing.
Yeah, that's something we heard a lot about when we were kids. It was always, that this guy, Ozzie Smith has 8 errors already in July. Well, because he's putting his glove on baseballs that most guys wouldn't get to.
Yeah.
I mean, they wouldn't even dream to get to that baseball. And, and then you have your home scorers. So if the Cardinals were playing in Chicago against the Cubs and he got, maybe a lace on the ball, the home scorer would say, oh, that's an error, because that's Ozzie Smith and we don't like him. A little bit more biased towards the home when it comes to scoring. Now,
cheap shot artist Ozzie Smith is what I usually call him.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm fine with them giving him that. Ultimate zone rating. Have you heard that one? UZR?
Yes.
I've seen that over the last couple of years. The ultimate zone rating. It's one of the most widely used publicly available defensive statistics. Puts a run value to defense, attempting to quantify how many runs a player saved or gave up through their fielding prowess or lack thereof. So that's the definition of UZR. Where do you think the Giants are in the National League in the UZR? There's 15 teams. I'll give you
really bad, I would say.
15th, yes.
Yeah.
Negative 15.7 on the UZR. The Diamondbacks are number 1 in UZR. They're a light hitting club, but they play defense and their pitching.
Can they save some mad bum there from? I don't know if they can save the balls going over the fence though.
I don't, probably not. So this tells you that. So when you look at these numbers and you say, so if the Giants happen to be going into Arizona this week, you could say, well, the Giants are having a hard time getting that hit with the bases loaded, getting that hit with a runner at third base. And then you go up against a team like the Diamondbacks who have a 12.4 UZR, the best in the National League. And you go, well, this is going to be a scrappy type of series where the Giants are going to need to win 2-1 ball games because that Diamondbacks defense is really tough. So you can kind of deep dive into these type of statistics and know what kind of series you're in for. But yeah, the Giants are dead last in the National League at negative 15.7. Braves are right in front of them at 14.7. Dodgers are in the middle of the pack, 2.9. Phillies, they're 13th.
Because they have Schwarber and Castellanos now playing in the outfield.
Yeah, but they're only negative. They're only negative 4.1. We're negative 15.7.
I think they're going to catch up. If Bryce can't get back out there, they may catch up. You know what?
This is true.
What you all the things that you just said. You know what makes it so crystal clear? I was kind of making fun of Mad Bum, and I looked at his numbers. And I'm like, wow, 3.31 ERA, not bad. And then you look at his FIP. His FIP is almost 5. So
yeah, because his defense is saving him.
Defense is helping him a lot. This sucks. This makes me sad.
I know.
54 innings, and he's only got 37 strikeouts. That makes me sad for him.
So his ERA with the Giants this year would probably be closer to his FIP because their defense just wouldn't be saving him. So that's a big kind of turning point for the Giants this season. I think if you're watching a Giants game the rest of the season, watching a series the rest of the season, kind of pay attention to that ball fell in, that should have been caught, or the Giants are starting to catch balls that might have fallen in the past. You can kind of maybe start to see a little bit of a turnaround, a streak kind of starting to build. I think the Giants team is going to go the way of their defense this year. They're going to hit, they're going to score runs, they're going to pitch well enough. But the defense is kind of that third factor. It's the special teams in the NFL. If you don't have that, all three aspects of everything that you need, then you kind of fall apart a little bit, or you just don't play up to your potential. I think that's kind of just where the Giants are right now.
All right, to finish this off. Now, the one thing that Giants don't want their pitchers to do is give up home runs. And the Giants their pitchers do not give up home runs. They are 4th in the league in all of baseball when it comes to home runs per 9 inning. They give up less than 1 home run per 9. The Dodgers also give up less than 1. Dodgers are at 0.9. Giants are at 0.8. They also don't want their pitchers to walk guys. The Giants are 5th in all of baseball in base on balls per 9. The Dodgers are 4th. And they also want strikeouts. Now, the Giants aren't doing as good of a job here. I wonder what they were last year, though. Some of this may be Rodon, having a couple of bad starts. So the Giants are at 8.6 strikeouts per 9. The Dodgers are at 9.0. Giants are a little bit closer to the middle, but then the Dodgers are close enough to where it's a very similar number. And so the strikeouts divided by walks number, Giants and Dodgers both fare very, very well. What this also tells me is that I think the Yankees are going to win the American League because they're right up there in every single one of these categories.
But the Astros are a really tough team. So if we can get a Yankees-Astros rematch from the cheating 2008 season, 2007 or 2018 or 17 season, can't remember exactly when it was, but that'd be a fun American League championship series. I think those two teams.
Yeah. All right, that was a fun little exercise. So before we get out of here, do you have any predictions for this week?
Oh, let me go back to our schedule here. I just got to take a quick peek.
What are the matchups? I mean, they don't even really say what the matchups are anymore past like 1 or 2 games.
Yeah, not usually. All right, so we got German Marquez, who the Giants tap around really well, against Rodon, tomorrow night. So that's a Giants win. Wood against Senzatella. I say that's another Giants win.
Last time Senzatella pitched against the Giants, he got hurt, right?
He did. He didn't get out of the first or second inning, I think it was. And then to be determined, he's pitching very well this year, and he pitches on Thursday.
So Giants got like 4 of them for the rest of the week to be
exactly.
determined.
So that's a 12:45 game. So the Giants are going to, let's just make this easy. Giants are going to go 6-0 this week.
There you go.
There you go. Let's just make it, round it out, make it nice and simple. No, let's, all right. So probably 3 against the Rockies. And I say the Giants, they always do what we don't expect them to do.
Mm-hmm.
Just like they did on this weird 10-game road trip. I say the Giants are going to go 5-1 this week.
Okay. I was going to say 4-2, but 4-2 is more what I would be happy with.
Yeah.
Like, I want them to sweep the Rockies so we don't even have to worry about it. So a win against the Dodgers is just gravy for the week, right? That's what I want. I want them to sweep the Rockies.
We just did a deep dive on the numbers and we're right there.
They're
so
really close. They're really close.
That's why
to them.
I think this is a turnaround week. It's June. I think the wake-up call is happening. Guys are starting to get healthy, and I think they can go 5-1. I think they can take 2 out of 3 against the Dodgers because they're going to be at home. It's going to be a raucous crowd. Sunday is first Saturday is Pride Day.
Okay.
So both the Dodgers and Giants are going to be wearing the Pride hats. That's the first time 2 teams on the same field playing against each other will be wearing the hats, and the uniforms. I think the patch and everything. And then Sunday is going to be Matt Cain perfect game bobble card day. They've been promoting the hell out of that one, and Matt Cain's going to be there. So that's why I think they'll get a little pumped up by both of those events. Pretty electric. I think Saturday is already a sellout pretty much. Sunday is probably a sellout too. Because
they should bring back Michael Morse for that game. So Matt Cain and Michael Morse can reenact when Matt Cain did the reach around and like got up there with the butt. Oh my God. I was like, poor Morse. This dude just like violated his privacy.
But that's what happens when you're excited. Sometimes it happens. Bring back we got to bring back Joaquin Arias, right?
He's got to be there. He has to be there, right?
And then Blanco with the diving catch in center field.
Oh yeah.
So bring those 2 guys back, please. Yes. So,
all right. So
5-1 week.
You and I are going to be back this weekend because you're going on vacation, like we said. So we'll be back on Sunday. And we'll record our episode. So, we won't have the full sort of way that we do it, like when we do it on a Monday or a Tuesday. But we'll be back Sunday. We'll talk about kind of the things that are going on. And hopefully we'll have some good news about this Dodgers series, or else it's going to be a very angry and sad and frustrated Tyler Rogers slumpy shoulders podcast.
Well, when we do our show Sunday morning, it's going to be before the Giants play. So are we going to be happy? Or are we going to be doing this Sunday morning show going, man, I can't wait for this sweep to happen today?
Yeah.
Because that's how I'm going to feel.
I'm not, and I will not, I promise, I will not pour this Manhattan cocktail into my coffee. It'll be straight coffee. That's what I can
There you go. Yeah, I've got a long drive on Monday, so I'll be drinking lots of coffee on Sunday, getting ready, getting packed and all that good stuff. So I'll have a good coffee. Yeah.
All right, good show. If I do say so myself.
Yeah.
I'll
say
look,
it too.
Look, even my video cleared up. It only took like 45 minutes.
Exactly.
Thanks, computer.
You might have to reboot before every show.
It's going to be a restart like immediately after we're done here. All right. So for Brad, I am Double G. We will see you on Sunday. Peace out.
Peace.